She sang a lullaby to a crying child on the plane, not knowing the father was a billionaire widower. The child's screams pierced through the cabin like shattered glass. For 45 minutes, the little girl had been inconsolable, her father's desperate whispers doing nothing to calm the storm. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, some shooting angry glances, others burying themselves deeper into their headphones. But Maya couldn't look away. She saw something in that man's eyes that broke through every wall she'd built around her heart. Pure, exhausted desperation mixed with a love so fierce it radiated across the aisle. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs hope today, and don't forget to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more inspiring stories. Drop a comment below telling us about a time a stranger changed your life. Maya Chen had learned to read people during her years as a pediatric nurse. 16-hour shifts in the children's ward had taught her to distinguish between a parent's frustration and their breaking point. This man, tall, well-dressed with dark circles under his ocean blue eyes, was seconds away from shattering. The little girl, no more than 3 years old, had tangled blonde curls stuck to her tear-stained cheeks, her small fists pushing away her father's hands as she wailed for something he couldn't give her. Without overthinking it, Maya unbuckled her seatbelt and crossed the aisle. She knelt beside the man's seat, meeting his exhausted gaze with a gentle smile. "May I try something?" she asked softly. The man looked at her with such profound relief that it almost made her cry. He nodded, his voice cracking as he said, "Please, I don't know what else to do." Maya turned to the little girl and began to sing. It was an old lullaby her grandmother had sung to her in Mandarin, a melody that spoke of moonlight on water and stars watching over sleeping children. Her voice was soft but steady, wrapping around the chaos like a warm blanket. Slowly, miraculously, the child's screams began to soften into hiccups. Maya reached out, and this time the little girl didn't pull away. Instead, tiny fingers grasped Maya's hand as the sobs transformed into quiet whimpers. The man watched in stunned silence as Maya continued singing, gently stroking the child's hair. Within minutes, the little girl's eyes grew heavy, her breathing evening out as she finally surrendered to sleep. The cabin seemed to collectively exhale, and Maya carefully helped settle the child more comfortably in her father's arms before returning to her seat. "Wait," the man whispered urgently, careful not to wake his daughter. "Thank you. I'm Sebastian Westbrook. That was... You have no idea what you just did." Maya smiled warmly. "I'm Maya, and I was happy to help. She's beautiful." Sebastian's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "She looks like her mother," he said quietly. And Maya understood immediately why this man seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. The flight from Seattle to New York was still hours away from landing, and as the plane settled into its drone, Sebastian and Maya began to talk. He told her about Charlotte, his daughter, and about losing his wife Emma to cancer just 8 months ago. He told her about being Sebastian Westbrook, CEO of Westbrook Technologies, a name that meant billions of dollars and influence spanning continents. But none of that mattered, he confessed, when he couldn't comfort his own daughter through her grief and confusion. "She asks for her mommy every day," Sebastian said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And I don't know how to explain to a 3-year-old why her mother isn't coming back. I've hired the best nannies, child psychologists, everyone, but nothing works. She just keeps crying. And I keep failing her." Maya felt her heart break for this man who had everything except the one thing that mattered, the ability to heal his daughter's wounded heart. Maya shared her own story then. She told him about growing up with a single mother after her father left, about the nights she'd cried herself to sleep, and about the grandmother who'd sung her those lullabies until the pain became bearable. She told him about becoming a nurse because she wanted to be there for children, the way her grandmother had been there for her. "Grief doesn't have a timeline," Maya said gently, "and love doesn't require perfection. It just requires showing up, even when you don't have all the answers." When the plane landed, Sebastian asked for her number. "Please," he said, bouncing a still sleeping Charlotte gently in his arms. "I know this is unusual, but would you consider—" "Could I hire you?" "Not as a nanny," he added quickly, seeing her expression, "as a friend. Someone who understands. Charlotte responded to you in a way she hasn't responded to anyone since Emma died." Maya hesitated. Her life was in Seattle. She had her job, her small apartment. her carefully constructed routine that kept her safe from getting too involved, too hurt. But looking at Sebastian's hopeful eyes and Charlotte's peaceful face, she heard herself saying yes. The next 3 months became the most challenging and transformative of Maya's life. She moved to New York, taking a leave of absence from the hospital. Sebastian set her up in a guest house on his estate in the Hamptons, a sprawling property that felt more like a museum than a home. The staff was professional but distant, and Charlotte wandered the halls like a tiny ghost, unable to find comfort in the luxury surrounding her. Maya's approach was simple but radical for the Westbrook household. She removed the schedules, the structured activities, the parade of specialists. Instead, she sat with Charlotte on the floor and played. She sang lullabies every night. She made pillow forts in the middle of designer living rooms and finger-painted on expensive paper. She let Charlotte cry when she needed to cry and held her without trying to fix everything. Slowly, impossibly, the little girl began to smile again, but the challenges were enormous. Sebastian's mother, Victoria Westbrook, was horrified by Maya's methods and made no secret of her disapproval. "She's a nurse from Seattle," Victoria said coldly during one particularly tense dinner. What could she possibly know about raising a Westbrook? The staff whispered about Maya being another phase, another failed attempt by Sebastian to cope with his grief. And the media, once they caught wind of the mysterious woman living on the Westbrook estate, had a field day speculating about Sebastian's rebound romance. Maya felt the pressure from all sides. She wasn't trained for this. She wasn't prepared for the complexity of navigating a world of unimaginable wealth while trying to help a traumatized child heal. And she certainly wasn't prepared for the way her heart began to ache every time Sebastian looked at her with gratitude, mixed with something deeper, something that terrified her, because it meant risking everything she'd built her walls to protect. The breaking point came on a rainy afternoon when Charlotte threw a massive tantrum, screaming for her mother in a way she hadn't done in weeks. Maya held her through it, singing and rocking, but nothing helped. When Sebastian rushed in from a meeting, still in his suit and tie, Charlotte pushed both of them away, her small face contorted with anguish. "I want Mommy. Not you, not you," she screamed at Maya, and the words cut deeper than Maya wanted to admit. That night, Maya told Sebastian she was leaving. "I'm not her mother," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I can't replace Emma, and I was foolish to think I could help. Charlotte needs more than I can give her." Sebastian caught her hand, his own eyes wet with tears. "You're right," he said. "You can't replace Emma, no one can. But you did something even more important. You showed Charlotte that it's okay to feel, to grieve, to be angry and sad and confused. You showed her that love doesn't end when someone dies. And you showed me," his voice broke, "that I could be a father again instead of just a man trying to survive." He told her then that he loved her, not because she'd fixed his daughter, but because she'd shown him how to live again. "I know it's complicated," Sebastian said. "I know I come with baggage and a child, and a life that might not be what you want. But I'm asking you to stay, not as an employee, not as Charlotte's caregiver, but as part of our family, because somewhere between that plane and today, you became the person I can't imagine living without." Maya stayed, not because of the wealth or the security or the fairy tale ending. She stayed because she'd learned that love isn't about having all the answers or being perfect. It's about showing up, staying present through the pain, and believing that broken hearts can heal when they have someone willing to sit with them in the darkness. Charlotte didn't magically stop missing her mother. There were still hard days, still tears, still moments of profound loss. But she learned that having loved ones didn't mean she had to forget the ones she'd lost. She learned that Maya wasn't trying to replace her mother, but to honor her memory by loving Charlotte exactly as she was. And slowly the Westbrook house began to fill with laughter again. Real, genuine, imperfect laughter. A year later, when Sebastian proposed to Maya in the same airport where they'd met, with Charlotte holding the ring box and giggling with excitement, Maya realized that the most powerful transformations begin with the smallest acts of kindness. A lullaby sung to a crying child, a hand extended across an airplane aisle, a willingness to love even when it feels impossible. If this story inspired you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below about what love means to you, and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us all that love, in all its forms, has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you for being part of our community.